Let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Welcome, everyone. We've got a big crowd here tonight. We have many people who want to speak on many different issues. Just know that we have a 3-minute time limit. So I will be timing you to keep us all even Steven, make sure we all get the same exact amount of time, and so we can just keep things flowing quickly. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is to consider the approval of the minutes of April 21st. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes for April 21st, 2021.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, Brian made the motion, Cliff made the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Now we're moving on to the first item on our agenda, case number RP 2021-001. Applicant Matthew Hilbig with KFW Engineering representing E.G. Tejas LLC is requesting a replat of properties located at 2798 West Washington, being parcels R22338 and R22351 of the Motley William Abstract, parcel R76366 of City Edition, Block 157, Lot 12, PTOF, and parcel R22391 of City Edition, Block 157, Lot 10 of the City of Stephenville, Erath County, Texas. The applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat. Steve.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, thank you. Madam Chair and Commissioners, we're going to try something a little bit differently tonight to try to keep everyone on the same page. So we've got on the back of the wall here, we're going to have the staff report up and then also on your devices. But right now I'm on page 8. The applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for future development of a center with tenants that comply with the permitted uses listed in the industrial district. As you very well know, the industrial district has a very lengthy list of permitted uses. Most of what we believe will be going in this development will be restaurant related. So it does match with the plan. The current zoning is industrial. Future land use is commercial, with one parcel of the 4 being zoned industrial for future land use. The property is served by adequate water and sewer by various outlets across the property. This property is served by Highway 377, and Wolf Nursery will extend from the north side of US 377 to the south side of 377 to this development as part of this project. We have several maps attached for your review, so I'm now on page 9, I believe. And you can see, instead of trying to list each parcel and the properties around it in regards to current and future zoning, I gave you this one map. And so there will be 4 parcels. If you look closely in the green to the, looking up here, kind of the center of the screen, this parcel has frontage on 377. It's somewhat of a cross shape. It will be 4 parcels, with the 4th parcel being at the bottom right-hand corner in purple. That's the one that's zoned industrial for future land use. So I gave you this graphic so you can see the relationship of how the properties are zoned as far as north, south, east, and west of the parcels in question. Moving on, again, we have the permitted uses there for your review. The uses that we believe will fit in this particular development are listed under 74 and 75. And then as we get to page, approaching down to 14, you have their plat application checklist. We've been working very closely with this group for quite some time. This project's been out in the community for discussion for years, and then recently it's gone through several modifications. Was somewhat dormant because of COVID and other reasons, and then recently came back and surfaced, and it is moving quite quickly now. And so we're glad to have this project back on the table, and looking forward to the project if so approved. As we move through your packet, we will be next on page 19. Again, this is a map illustrating basically what the separate parcels are. This is the first parcel, 22338. And so then we do have the maps to show you the relationship of the current and future zoning of the properties in relation to this one particular parcel. The list of addresses that were notified on page 23. And then we move to the second parcel, which is part of this replat for the preliminary plat, 22351. Same maps for consideration and review. Again, on page 28, we have the list of addresses that were notified for the hearing. The next parcel is 22391. This parcel fronts Washington. The maps again for your review. List of addresses on page 33. And then the last parcel is 76366. This is a property that has future zoning of industrial. The rest again have future zoning of commercial. You can see on page 37 that we have water and sewer serving the parcel as the development will occur. Page 38 is the list of addresses. And then on page 39, we actually get to the site plan and the preliminary plat itself. Staff has been working with the applicant for the past month at minimum on the development of this site plan and the preliminary plat. Preliminary plat is found on page 40. And so with this replat and the approval of the preliminary plat, it would take 4 lots and combine them into 7 lots with 2 that are identified for drainage purposes. Then on page 41, we have a letter of opposition, and also on page 43, an additional letter of opposition. And with that, ma'am, that concludes my overview of this case. I know that we have representatives from the developing group here with us tonight. And then we also have people who would like to speak either for or against the project. With that, I'd answer any questions.
Thanks, Steve. Does anybody have questions for Steve? Okay, Mr. Hilbig is here?
No, he's not here. I'm coming in his place.
Sure. Please go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Armando Niebla. I'm with KFW Engineers.
Thank you.
And business address?
Sure.
13042, 3421 Paisanos Parkway, San Antonio, Texas, 78231. No, as Steve mentioned, we've been communicating with city staff for quite some time now, I think a little over 2 years on the project, and for various reasons, it's been stopped and started. Obviously, we've got some momentum and have been working diligently with staff to move this forward. We had some floodplain challenges to deal with on the property that we feel we're coming to a head on, and then with traffic as well and the roadway. So what you see in front of you is the most current and most recent plan for the for restaurant layout as well as road. And so with that, I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you anticipate Wolf Nursery Road or the extension of it into your development to be a private road or public?
It would be a public road.
And you would then provide the city with the easement for that road?
Yes, sir.
On page 40 of this, where you've got a map up, there's a little horseshoe there in the drive. What is that about?
That represents the termination of the road based on the development. So we are dedicating the right-of-way through the development, but proposing to build a road to that point of connection. Everything south of that is going to remain as what we're referring to as 900 series lots, 901, 902, I believe they're reflected as, which will remain undeveloped. So the road would terminate at that point.
Okay, thank you, sir. We will now go ahead and open a public hearing on this issue. I remind you that I'll ask you to come to the podium, give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. I do know, I believe we have one person here to speak for sure. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this replat? Anybody who wishes to speak opposed? Is Mr. Cohen here?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
My name is Don Cohen, C-O-A-N. My physical address is 7765 County Road 180, which is out close to Pilot Knob. I'm here as trustee for the Suzanne S. Cohen Testamentary Trust. At her death, this property was put into trust, 4.5 acres that's involved here. The 4.5 acres is shown by this yellow, which is the area that is within 200 feet and requires notice to adjoining landowners. The 4.5 is down here and shows in 2 different areas that it's well within the 200 feet requirement to receive notice of this change. We received no notice. I don't know whether it's the plague, I don't know whether it's the pandemic, I don't know if it's just postal problems or what, because I've had plenty of them myself, but I got no notice. I found out about this about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and I talked to Steve, and I tried to put together a little bit of a statement as to the problems that we have with the proposed development of this property in relationship to how it affects that 4.5 acres. As trustee of a trust, I have a legal obligation as a fiduciary to try to protect the property, so I'm here tonight to try to protect this property. One of the main problems that have been involved with trying to develop this over the years is the drainage problem. The drainage problem comes right out of the parking lots that exist all the way up Washington to the area up there. I don't know what you call it, mall, I guess. And so as the years have developed, you can look at it yourself and you can see that a lot of water gets forced into this little creek that runs right through the middle of this. You can see it outlined here. It's not very bright, but you can see it. It comes across Mr. Davis's property, then it comes across an edge of their property, and then it goes through my property, and then it goes through the rest of their property. I am concerned that nothing has been proposed that I know to protect the drainage problem. The problem that we sometimes have with developers is they have a way of overlooking the long-term perspective of landowners in the area beside themselves. My property can be developed if somebody wants to buy it. I don't want to develop it. I'm not going to develop it. But I'm not inclined to allow someone to come in and basically build an area around me like a watermelon, reach in and take the heart out of the watermelon, and leave all the rinds laying around on the sides, which is the rest of us. We are left out there with several problems on value of the land, utility of the land, and usage of the land when this occurs. So I think that the problem I have is that if the plat were in conformity with the master plan of the city, I probably would have no objection to it, because the roads come down on Wolf and they go across to Lockhart. That would open up that whole area.
Okay, I'm sorry, that was your 3 minutes, but if I got this, it's drainage issues and the thoroughfare.
I'm sorry?
Your main concerns are drainage and
Drainage,
thoroughfare?
value, utility,
All right.
and the fact of what would happen if you tried to get away from the master plan by saying, we're going to stop this street up here. They show that they're going to stop the street right in the middle of their deal, leave all of that other left, which is not in the master plan. How are you going to get the master plan to work that you have.
All right.
If you don't have that road coming on out.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anybody else here who wishes to speak against this replat? Okay, do you have
Yeah.
bet you were dying to respond. so
Yeah, no,
Please
absolutely.
go ahead.
I'll respond and then I'll ask James to chime in as well. So the floodplain analysis that we've been through up to this point represents a floodplain that's larger than what's mapped. And so I think that has been a concern with the property and the development. Everything that we've done to this point is analysis that proposes to mitigate for that. So we are not increasing runoff from the development from a watershed standpoint. That floodplain is going to be improved in significant order to manage and maintain that flow without impeding and backwatering onto any other development of property. So from a value standpoint, there would be an increased value because it would be addressed on our side. We can't address what's off our property, but we can address what's coming through us, and that's what we're proposing to do. And we've been in review with y'all's third-party engineering firm and actually are addressing comments as we speak. So that will be addressed. As far as the thoroughfare, this plan is in alignment with that, so James wants.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Commissioner, my name is James McKnight. I'm the land use attorney for the applicant and owner, so I'm part of the applicant team. I just wanted to address a few comments. One, just on notice, I mean, it is always unfortunate when somebody doesn't receive notice. However, the requirement is actually that notice is mailed, not necessarily that somebody receive it, and that happens a lot. Like you said, there might be a lot of reasons for that. As far as the thoroughfare plan goes, Steve, could you actually put up the plat instead of the plan? I think it might be a little confusing just because we're looking at a site plan, which
Page
shows actually
39.
proposed development, not the plat itself.
I was gonna ask that question real quick, Steve, if you don't mind. I'm gonna interrupt.
Oh,
just
sure,
a
no,
second.
please, go ahead.
We're dealing with the
He's
plat
gonna-
only.
he's gonna- thank you.
Preliminary plat, yes.
That's all we're dealing with here.
Right.
And so I just wanna make sure we're clear. We're not dealing with any of the parking lot, any of the road, any of that. That all comes with development at another time.
That's correct.
This is where they're seeing it come through, but we might end say, no, we want Wolf Nursery to go straight through the middle of the property. Is that correct? Just so we're all on the same page. Okay. We're only dealing with that little box.
That's right,
Okay.
that's right. And so, to Armando's point about drainage, we're not allowed to increase drainage off our site. So we usually try to improve that. And so to deal with this floodplain, we are incorporating a large channelization, which you can see on the plat, the 901, 902 lots to handle that. The thoroughfare, it's our job to account for that thoroughfare, that it meet the master plan, which it does. We had come here over a year ago to get an approval for, slightly adjusting that. We did that, and so that's what this road does. It matches that. We are dedicating the road all the way through. The reason for the site plan was just to show what the development was going to look like and what the limits of our building out the road are proposed to be once, because the TIA has been approved, our rough proportionality for what the impacts of our development, that's what that road is for. That's what that little cul-de-sac is showing, is that for us, that's the amount of road that we are going to be responsible for. But it's actually not part of the plat at this point. There is a note on the plat, I do want to point that out, that talks about that. So we account for it and point to the TIA saying the TIA has been approved, and it refers back to this roadway, saying if we build the roadway to this, it's because the TIA says so. So I guess in conclusion, what I'm saying is that it's been vetted by everybody and it meets all the requirements. So when it comes to a plat, if you meet all the requirements, then that means approval. So I'm just here to say, yeah, we've gone through all those departments, we've looked at the thoroughfare, we've looked at the drainage, and we meet all the requirements.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, can we get a motion so we can discuss?
Motion to approve, what's that number? RP 2-2021-001.
Recommend to council approval?
Yes, recommend.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Todd made the motion, Brian made the second. Do we need to discuss what you guys think?
I do. I have a couple of questions, but although I support the plat, because I forgot your name, but it is a plat. We have a legal requirement that if it meets the requirements, we recommend to council that it passes the requirement. This is not an issue of zoning, this is not an issue of anything like that subjective. But I do have a couple of questions, Steve, on your application, and maybe it's been updated since. The application checklist that we have in front of us in the packet, It's missing about 7 check marks. It's missing 24 by 36 engineer support documents if required. Maybe that's not required. It's missing a check mark for approved name, dimension, width of street right of way. Street names are required. It's missing about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things on page 18 that says plat shall be defined. It also talks about stamps and seals, documents, all that.
Yes, sir, some of that is somewhat outdated on what our needs are under today's review standards with the electronic submissions and things of that nature that we're able to get. And again, this is a preliminary plat, so as we work with the developer and go through this plat and begin the construction documents, then when we come back to you for the final plat approval, we'll have everything you need, so you can make that final decision on the final plat.
Okay.
Staff feels that we have more than adequate information at this point to move forward with this
And
consideration.
so we're just saying for everybody, can you bring up that one, this little T-looking thing? That's really all we're saying is, do we want this piece of property, all 5, to be merged into this one thing? That's all we're really saying, right?
One there is what I'm understanding
Okay.
too.
Page 36, I think, would work as far as a map for reference.
Yeah, I think that's. Or 19.
Yeah.
There we go. So the one in purple that is actually outlined is the 4th parcel. So you'll have the parcel directly to the north and then the parcel directly to the west that comprises the development overall. And then also the very following, the one that has frontage on 377. And so that is the overall dimension and configuration of the 4 parcels that will be replatted into 7 actual lots and then 2 that have drainage.
We good? Anybody else have questions, things they want to say? All right, let's go ahead and vote. We have a motion on the table to recommend to council approval of this preliminary, that council approve this preliminary plat. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, this will go forward to council with the recommendation that they approve it. It is on council to make that final decision. So, Mr. Cohen, you can make your, make a statement to council as well. And again, we just recommend one way or another, and council makes the final decision.
Sure.
Thank you for coming tonight, appreciate it. All right, next item on our agenda is case number RZ 2021-008. Applicant Tobiah and Mandy O'Neill are requesting a rezone of property located at 1065 West Frey, parcel R32261 of Kite, 2nd edition, Block 5, Lot 2 of the City of Steenville, Erath County, Texas, from R1 single-family residential to R3 multifamily. And I know we have 2 items, two agenda items that are close. We just have to go through procedurally and hit each one as it comes up. So it gets a little repetitive.
May we be excused?
Yes, sir, please. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Steve.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, this is a property that we're all, I'm sure, very familiar with, one of the iconic properties here in the city. We have Mr. Toby here with us tonight to provide us information on what his intended project is, but the applicant has requested a rezone from R1 to R3 to allow for the highest and best use for this property. The property currently has R1 single-family zoning, and future land use is also single-family. This property is surrounded by water utility and sewer utility in Pecan, Ollie, Fry, and Kite Streets. The subject site has R1 zoning for current zoning, with north being R3, south and east R1, and west is R3. Future land use for the subject site is, again, single family. North is single family. South to the property is multifamily. East is single family, and to the west is commercial and single family. Have the zoning requirements for the R3 district for your review. And then if we continue, I forgot to mention page numbers, so I apologize for that. On the next, it would be page 51 is a map of the property. Page 52 shows the current zoning. Page 53 is future land use. And then we show where the water and sewer utilities are available for this particular site. List of addresses notified. And Madam Chair and members of the commission, we have 2 letters in opposition for this particular case. With that, I would be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Steve?
Yeah, I've got one on Kite Street. Am I reading that right, a 3/4 inch water line?
I believe that's correct, sir. Yes.
Whoa.
Okay, is the applicant here, Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to speak?
Sure, thank you. Thank you all for hearing me. My name's Toby O'Neill, and I grew up here in Stephenville. My wife and I, Mandy, moved back here to raise our family in one of the greatest towns in Texas. I grew up walking past the Chandler Mansion as a kid, home from junior high to my mom's work. Every day after school, like so many others have, I'm sure, wondering who might have built that house or what celebrity might live in a house so grand. From the time my wife, Mandy, and I bought our home on the corner of Kite and Fry Street, I've had dreams of renovating the mansion to its former glory. With all that land in the back, it would eventually make for ample parking and space to build some high-end, low-impact multifamily townhomes, all the while keeping the area nice and as low-key as possible, considering Tarleton is coming to Fry and Ollie according to their master plan. In fact, when I began the process of considering this deal, my driving motivation was actually to not allow someone to come in and doze the mansion and build up a big conglomerate, massive apartment complex in my backyard and right there in the middle of Stephenville. As the university grows along with my construction business and the local real estate market, I don't have the time or the funds to renovate the property personally and put my visions into action. When I was seeking investors to help me purchase the property, I turned down 2 different parties that said they would love to put up the money, but restoring the property didn't seem to be in their plan, so I chose not to partner with them. I ended up working out a deal with 2 friends that are both in real estate business around Stephenville and have been for years. And we all went on with the understanding that no matter what, that the mansion would stay there and we would not sell it to somebody that had any intentions of dozing or, doing anything but restoring and renovating the property. In fact, we all agreed that when we did sell the property that we would have deed restrictions in there, keeping the new buyer from being able to doze and demo the property and putting a massive apartment complex in its place, which nobody wants. My family and I live in the house that is right next door to the mansion. It's the old feed mill. I can't remember the name, drawing a blank. The Postons, it's the old Poston house. We've lived there for 6 years, and we plan to start a major renovation on the interior of the property in the near future, so it will remain a primary residence on the block. We would much rather us be in control of the land in the back and the type of townhomes or properties that eventually are built on the land behind the existing homes, rather than some out-of-state investment group or the university come in and take over and do what they want, and then we will lose all control. Unfortunately, because the block is surrounded by multifamily zones on the north side of Fry that are primarily occupied by tenants, it does not make sense to develop and build new single-family homes on that particular piece of land. Due to the current real estate market in our area and the rapid growth of the university, we feel the best and highest use of the property would be a very high-end, low-impact, multifamily use zone that would coexist well with the newly renovated mansion. Again, I reiterate to you that the mansion will have deed restrictions placed on it as to ensure that it will not be demolished. Thank you for your consideration.
Does anybody have questions for Mr. O'Neill? What is your plan to do with the mansion?
Initially to renovate it, and I had either some partial commercial use and Airbnb upstairs, maybe a flower shop, cafe type of Airbnb bread and breakfast maybe that could coexist with Lidas Food Basket and some other restaurants in the area. I think everybody I've ever talked to has always had a high amount of interest in the house and curiosity. Not many people have been in there, you know, prior to the estate sales. So that's what I wanted to make my day-to-day, you know, our retirement.
So the land kind of fronting in front of the mansion stays, and you're looking only to develop that land that's kind of fenced in behind the mansion, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. There's a good portion of land in between our homes. Plenty of room to make a thoroughfare or road entering into that area, and have some higher-end townhomes with yards, you know, more for the baby boomers and people that are looking to downsize, not so much the college market for tenants and ownership, but definitely renovate the mansion and have it be brought back to its former glory.
I love that. Why R3 as opposed to R2? Like R2 would be more duplex condo sort of thing. I mean, R3 makes me nervous because that sounds like a lot of apartments. So what made you choose R3?
Understood. I couldn't really answer that for you. I've got two partners, like I said, they, you know, I'm not sure the differences in R2 and R3, to be real honest with you.
Okay.
I think that was just a broader encompassing for the future use, you know, I'm not real sure.
I would think that a residential zoning would preclude any kind of retail establishment on the property. One would think that a planned development, rezoned into planned development, and the submission of the plan for planned development would make much more sense for this property than
A PD.
than
Yeah.
just change to an R3 zone.
Yeah. Are you aware of what a planned development is, and did you consider that?
Somewhat,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, we did. We just feel that the location of the property to the college and where it's coming, and the surrounding properties that are adjoining to the streets, you know, it doesn't seem like a highly motivated place for people to want to come in and purchase a residential home. And the way the block lays out, it's 430 or 440 feet each way. So that would just make, you know, without putting a street through the middle of the block and separating it into two separate blocks, which would then still add to the traffic count and all of
I
them.
think we're talking at cross purposes. A planned development doesn't necessarily mean like R1, single family homes. It could mean, a planned development is a way to, for the city to have a little more control over what's happening with the development. So you come in with a specific plan saying, hey, we want to turn the mansion into a B&B
Yes, ma'am.
plus this, and then we're going to put these townhomes in the back, and this is exactly what. So what you
Understand.
do is you kind of construct the vision that you have, and it would allow for some flexibility for what you're looking for in terms of what you're looking to do with the mansion, and then it gives the city more control over just a blanket R3, which is what you're looking for in the back. So Steve, do you know if that was considered at all?
Madam Chair, today was the first opportunity that Mr. O'Neill and I have had to visit on this, along with his partner, Dale Burdick. And so I was very pleased to hear that they have full intentions of protecting the mansion. The R3 development in the back certainly matches the request that they're looking for. With the discussion about the retail shops or restaurants in that corner property where the mansion is located, I too agree that a PD might be the best approach and maybe open the door for you a little more as far as what the future opportunity would be for your project.